So we are talking about the whole National Telecom Policy initiatives that have been driven by the DOT, the Honorable Minister of State for Communications, the Honorable Mr. Sinha, and our DOT Secretary Aruna Sundarajan have been at the forefront of getting the industry to focus on inputs back to the government in what should constitute the policy direction of the government in the years ahead. We had NTP in the last go around, which was NTP 2012, which set the agenda for the next 5 years, and now we are at the cusp of really dramatic changes in the industry. Technology never stands still. There's a continuing evolution, and as we go forward, these changes come fast and furious and in great rapidity. And so I think it is an appropriate time that the minister and the DOT secretary and the whole apparatus of looking at the new policy framework push for inputs from the various stakeholders, and that's exactly happened. There have been multiple forums, multiple input sessions from the various stakeholders in the process, and I think we're very, very pleased with the blue sky process that was adopted, where there was a complete amalgamation of the various stakeholder interests to come up with a single document so that there was buy-in as we progress further in terms of NTP 2018 to ensure that we would be on the right track for implementation, especially since you had buy-in already from all the principal stakeholders. So what are the main highlights, if you will, and the headlines that we are asking for from the industry specifically, which is communications, telecommunications industry? First and foremost, we said we must continue to look at the financial plight of the industry. Great outcomes cannot be achieved through niggardly investments in our infrastructure, which is critical and key to ensuring that the customers enjoy the best of technology and the best of experiences. So clearly the first point that we highlighted was the government's look at these onerous levies up to 30% and more that has been imposed on the industry, and that must be addressed and reduced so that the industry along with the government can continue to play its key role in pulling through the great initiatives that are outlined in NTP 2018. So that's the first one. The second one, of course, is addressing the critical input in mobility, which is spectrum. And we've been saying that the continuous spectrum costs cannot be sustained. We absolutely support the Honorable Supreme Court's decision to auction spectrum. We've supported that all along. That's an appropriate way for allocating spectrum, but the methodology adopted for pricing the spectrum, we find, can be looked at differently and must be looked at in terms of reducing the cost to acquire and operate spectrum. So that's the second one that is very, very critical. The third one that just about every consumer today complains about is some of the quality of our networks in various locations. The right of way in terms of being able to locate our cell towers and the ability to lay fiber, which is a critical ingredient of rolling out 5G and the high speeds, is lagging behind and suffering because of the inability of the industry to locate these critical infrastructure aspects in areas where we need them. So the right-of-way, which the Honorable DOT, the Minister and the Secretary has pushed through in terms of the Gazette notification, that must become a reality at the state level, right down to our gram panchayats, our municipalities, in order to succeed. The third area that we've been talking about and other areas is to look at the ease of doing business, the paperwork that's involved, the way we have to submit applications for spectrum and wireless planning commission agendas, and again the paperwork associated with getting permission for our towers, the whole issue of M&A activity that can be speeded up. All of those areas need to be looked up in terms of ease of doing business. So these are the critical areas that we are highlighting from our perspective. Again, the whole issue of the financial well-being of the industry, spectrum costs and allocation and availability of spectrum, roadmap for spectrum. The third thing that we've talked about is ease of doing business. These are some of the critical things that we've highlighted. There are others, and we look forward and we congratulate the Minister, the DOT Secretary, and we look forward to these now being rolled out and becoming a reality.